ship tied to the mast, to distant lands, takes both my hands, never a frown with golden brown.
KYRS, Medical Lake Spokane, 88.1 and 92.3. You're listening to Creative Mindset with Robert Sevilla. And in studio, we have a guest new to the show. I have a lot of repeating guests, and his name is Ross. Ross, I think I have your last name written down somewhere, but go ahead and introduce your first, last name, and a little bit what you do.
Yeah, my name is Ross Lindsay. I post videos on the internet of fishing, and during the day, working the art side of things and jewelry, and in the evenings, I'm at the river.
Nice. Okay, so let's start off with, you might be wondering why you're here. Okay, so the show is called Creative Mindset, and for me, it's about, you ever heard of growth mindset?
Yeah.
So growth mindset is a modality of psychology of always growing, always learning. And it's kind of the same thing for me. So strangely enough, the first time I ever heard that, it was my son's reply to his mom when she started asking him about, like, do you have some direction, son? And he's like, don't worry, Mom, I'm of a growth mindset. And she's like, what? And then I asked him to explain it to me. And it was right when I was starting the show. And it's exactly what I strive for. So it's always growing, always learning, always trying to move forward. And then for me, this is a show, it took over the show of Art Hour. So for me to continue in a creative, healthy path along that journey, you run into blocks. And I find it more helpful, or I find it very helpful, I should say, that to be responsible radio, to be a responsible creative person is to just help give them tools to solve those blocks, or how to get through them, or maybe even end up never even getting into a block. So one of the ways of doing that is to learn about things, learn about people, just kind of get out of your own head, get out of your own way. I think even if you're not doing like an artistic job, stepping back and learning something new that has nothing to do with what you do is fantastic. Or even just learning about something that you didn't even know about, or just curiosities. I think curiosities is a huge part of creativity. So I remember when you and I met, it was briefly, we were like in a buffet line.
Very briefly, having chicken sliders.
Yeah, chicken sliders. And we had just left this show, and I was there with the city of Spokane, and I think we went to have like an after show drink, and then they just said, let's just keep this party going, and why don't you follow us to this banquet that we're going to? And then I had no idea that it was so like nice.
It was very nice.
It was super nice. I was like, gosh, this is a lot. And I knew a bunch of people there too. And you were just this friendly face in the line that was, you're just kind of, we briefly met, and one of the things you said is, I don't know if you gave me did you have a card, or you just texted me real quick?
Yeah, I did each other on Instagram.
And then, and what you said is like, I plan to make a go at this. I'm gonna have a page and start followers. And I've heard a lot of people say that. And I think when I first looked at yours, and I was like, oh boy, he's a ways away. I don't know. You're like maybe right around 100.
Somewhere, yeah. It was
early on, right?
Early on, yeah.
And then I look back just like a couple weeks ago, and you were in the 24,000 or?
Yeah, it's interesting. Just hit 25 on Instagram, and then on YouTube it's at around 14, and it's really interesting. Yeah.
So and it is interesting because I don't think I really know anybody who. I have a sister who has like 150,000 followers, but she's like this like gorgeous Latina, and she's just like this beautiful woman that people just want to click on and see pictures of her. And then she's also now, she's just learning. My father's a fantastic cook, and her mother's a good cook. And which I've always, I think she's
awesome.
She's pretty, but at the same time, she, my side of the family, or that Latin side of the family, is very cultural, and they like sharing their culture, dancing, music, food. And now she's starting to do like recipes of like her mother's Peruvian and our father is Mexican, and then she's releasing these like Mexican and Peruvian recipes, and their following is just like,
that's cool.
Just shooting up, and it's interesting to watch that. But I've never really asked her questions on how she thinks about it, because I think she just started taking it more serious.
It seems like sharing other people's stories and being a vessel seems to be like, at least how I go about it. There's the part where I'll like focus in on what I'm doing in a video, incorporating in like either the history of the river or the history of some company that has some gear or something. And I'm not out here trying to make a living. I'm not making a living at it. It's just something I'm passionate about, pulling all-nighters, doing it, staying up late, and
making videos or creating content. So I do not follow you on YouTube. And first of all, release your however they can find you anytime. You can't promote enough on here. Okay. I'll even help you. So why don't you do that now?
It's Fishing Bloopers.
Fishing Blooper, huh?
And it's on almost anything. TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, Instagram. I post on there 2 times a day, usually at 9:30 every morning. I also run a new page called Spokane on the Fly, and that's hopefully going to be more centered around like individual like projects with like going out with the river keepers who clean up trash on the river, or educational groups kind of thing. Just kind of letting whoever wants to take that on help out with that.
Did you walk away with any contacts on that river keepers night that we met at? Tell me about that.
So I was there because I made a video for them. So the only way that I got a ticket to that, because I am a young, poor man, and the only way I got the $60
How much was
ticket.
Oh, it was a $60
$60, but it came with food.
Pretty good food.
It was,
I enjoyed it.
Oh my goodness. They had like candy
and they had drinks and stuff. Yeah, I'm like, this is a treat. I didn't know it was going to be so cool.
So I went out on the river with them. I messaged them so many times, probably sent like 30 emails of like, how can I volunteer? How can I get involved? This page that I made what I called dumb, funny videos on in the email, which now turned into like dumb, serious videos that are just like sprinkled in with like comedy as in the dumb part. But it turned into something to where I was like, this could be utilized. It started off as just like a boredom thing, making videos, sharing with friends. And then it started like gaining a little bit of traction just with like a couple videos, still low following count, but I don't gauge it all off following count. It was just like, who's this reaching? Where is it reaching? And then I like to volunteer. So like at that point I was like, why can't we mix this and start using it for good? So they took me out on the river. They let me float the river with them. And then I was told to make a video and then I could go to their event. So that's how I was there.
That's cool. Well, they definitely have. I've had them on, I think, twice here. And the first time I ever came across them and met a whole bunch of new people was I was biking down along the river with my girlfriend, and we just came across. Did I know them? I can't remember if I met them there, but I came across these people, friendly people just like you, and they said hi, and we started chatting. And they were putting together a like choreography for an event they did, and it was about awareness and about trying to bring the salmon all the way up the river.
Yes.
And they, I forget the official name, of it, but it was pretty cool. I've always enjoyed when I went to like art school and stuff. I always enjoyed going and seeing going to the dancing school of dance and seeing dancers. So I went to that, saw all of the expression. I think it's a cool way. I think artists, kind of like when you said you've created a platform and then you found a responsibility to use that platform for good. I think some of the highest forms of art are ways when you can find a purpose for it, like bigger than yourself. And I think that's what they were doing with dance, and I thought that was super cool. So then that's how I originally met up with them, and I think she might have been one of the first, if not the first, guest I had on the show. My Facebook page has, I think, those two on there on the.
That's cool.
The cover page, but anyway, the River Keepers I've definitely thought about wanting to do something with them, if not putting in a little time with cleaning up things, but to use my art or something. I think at some point they asked me if I would create art out of the junk they pulled out of
that would be so cool.
And I go, how much? I go, I'm a metal artist. Like, how much metal are you pulling out of there?
There's so much. I was there last week. We went out onto the river last week to do another video. And it was kind of cool. I was like, woohoo, round 2. And it was like pulling out 1,800 pounds.
Okay, yeah.
We had 2 boats, and there was like very old car tires, wheels, and just shopping carts and stuff that is definitely sculpturable.
Right.
It would be kind of fun.
How many scooters did you pull out of that?
There's quite a bit of scooters.
The lime scooters, right?
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of lime scooters. I'll be fishing sometimes. I'm like, oh, there's a lime scooter.
A lime scooter, yeah. And just so we don't forget about it, because I think we came up with some good ideas, just you and I talking on the phone the other day. I would love to give away some of the art, but it is the same time. If I put artwork together, it's the same time that I take away from doing art for other people that cost money. It's not like I have a bunch of free time to just do free stuff. But some of the other ones that could combine time and ideas, and one of them I thought was, or what we came up with was that carps. I asked you about those large carps, and you said they're intrusive, or that
pike minnow. Pike minnow carps. They used to be called squawfish, but pike minnow. They're very invasive in some sections, and there's a lot of like stigma around pike minnow. And
what's the stigma? So
like on the west side, I used to live in Bonnie Lake, Sumner area, and like the running dialogue was always that like pike minnow, you always pull them out of the river whenever you see one, and they basically sit at the mouth of the river, kind of by the ocean, from what I'd heard or what people have commented on the videos. I'm not a geologist or a biologist here. I don't know what you call it, but they eat the salmon eggs and the trout eggs. So like as they spawn, like the trout and the salmon, the pike minnow will come by and just eat the eggs. And so that diminishes the population of some of those more native fish. And that happens in Spokane, it seems.
And what do they look like?
Oh, they're like, it's not a goldfish. They're kind of like a long goldfish.
They're actually gold?
No, they're not gold. They're like tan. But they're like, they have those big scales like goldfish.
Oh, okay.
It's not like a full carp scale where it's like the big scales, but they're like bigger than trout. Trout, you can't really see the scales unless you're really close to them. Pike minnow, they get like 2 feet long.
All right, and those are the ones we were talking about. The ones you see when I float down the river, I see big giant fish that are girthy. And now that you mention it, they have large scales, like the size of probably nickels. Yeah,
and some of those are like I don't know the name, but they're called suckerfish. So like bottom fish. Those ones
Lacostomus? That's probably a general term.
Yeah, the ones that they eat the algae. Some of those are like really good for the environment. And I'm sure pike minnow have their place. Like it's still a fish.
Right.
But
they're not good for the environment.
Yeah, I don't know if they're very good.
And we're asked to kill them on site.
Yes, I think so. I just don't know exactly where, because there's there's so many like maps that say like this is where they're a native fish and this is where they're not. And then
well, there's definitely a big effort in that. The effort of that team I was telling you about, the dance team, their mission was to bring awareness, but the idea was to bring salmon all the way back up to the mouth of the Spokane Falls, because that's the farthest the salmon have ever gotten. They never went past the falls because they couldn't get past them. But they're trying to bring them up there, and they said they're getting pretty close. And then they also just released a whole bunch in the river,
that's what
right?
I was just thinking about. Yeah.
But they're going to get nowhere if those fish are going to eat up all the...
That is a good point, because they're putting large fish, it seemed, so that they reproduce. And then the eggs are there, and they can be eaten. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. But yeah, I think they're Chinook salmon. Some of the tribal groups have gone together, and there's a awesome like video on the Riverkeepers site, and I don't know where else it's posted, but I'm sure it's everywhere. But there's a big group, and they're releasing a salmon, and it's so cool. It's so wholesome. Like, it feels good to see it.
That would be... So you didn't see that?
Not in person.
I'd be happy to see that in person.
The gal that was at that event that we met at, she was one of the ones that released the salmon.
Well, and then this is what I'm opening up to the listeners. If anyone wants to call in and put some effort toward this, because we're going to have some like responsible radio, right? Like let's make some momentum out of this. Would be to so if you're supposed to, what are those fish called again?
Oh, pike minnow.
Pike minnow, which is funny because when I think of minnow, I think of tiny little things, but these are big fat fish.
I don't know why they're called minnows.
So pike minnow, we're supposed to kill them on site because they're working against our ecological system that we're trying to put together and that we're putting a lot of money and effort toward. We're supposed to kill them on site, so which also just means fish them out of the water.
Yes, and I'm going off a lot of comments here, and like I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to take. There's bounties on pike minnow in some areas.
Oh, like make money?
Yeah, and like Columbia River, I'm pretty sure that's the place where a lot of that goes down, where like you can really make a lot on pike minnow, and Oregon.
Is that how professional fishermen actually make money?
I don't know, because like I'm going to be honest and straight up, totally transparent with you and
sure everyone listening,
because I feel like we're just having a conversation.
Yeah, we are. That's it.
All of us are a part of this. Like I've gotten a couple free things. I got a pair of boots. Love my boots. Absolutely love them. But I think that there is ways to make money. It's just like going and fishing just to like remove fish from the water. It just would feel so repetitive in some ways. But I know that some of those guys.
Well, I mean, if you were to think of, if I enjoy pulling fish out of a water, a little bit of fight, the hunt, the being in the environment, like, why not make like $3 or $5 a fish if that's whatever they're
It's
paying?
somewhere around there. It's up there.
So I guess what I'm saying is, so first of all, I'm going to open up the lines. If anybody wants to call in, if you have some facts about this, or even want to join this effort, phone number is 509-747-3807. And what I'm asking is one, clarity on some of the stuff that we're talking about. You can join in on the discussion. I'll just put you straight on the air. Also, one of the best, I have two boys. When they were younger, I was headed over to a friend's house, and she had a house along the Spokane River, like way up north. And she's like, "Oh gosh, my nephews are coming over," and it was like one of those things that lifted my spirits when I saw this gaggle of kids like come out of this like small station wagon. None of them had like seatbelts on. They were just in shorts. They were like wild boys, and they all come out, jumping out, just screaming, yelling, blah, 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 jumping in the river with sticks.
No way,
with
that's
sticks.
So cool.
And they jumped on, and they all had little masks on, and they just started poking these big pike minnows.
Really?
And they stabbed them, and they had them on a stick, and one of them had like 2 on a stick. And I didn't say a word. I just watched this wave of kids come out, jumping in the river. They're stabbing fish. They're screaming. They're laughing. I'm like, man, that looks like some good fun. And then I asked, what was going on there? And are you guys going to eat those? And they're like, no, those are just like trouble fish that they want. Everyone wants out of the river.
Interesting.
So I'm thinking, why couldn't we do something like that? Why couldn't we, maybe in the summertime, with some masks, float down the river with some sticks and just rip out some pike minnows?
Yes.
Yeah. So if anyone out there is listening and you want to join the group, I mean, we could probably partner up with Riverkeeper somehow, or some other group, or maybe even the No Lie Brewery along the river.
There's supposed to be a new Trout Unlimited person coming into town.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. What's a Trout Unlimited?
Trout Unlimited, if you could see me right now, I'm wearing this hat.
Oh,
it's
okay,
like
there it
a
is. Trout
Rep
Unlimited?
Your Water thing.
Uh-huh.
They're like a big organization, and they watch out for like a lot of the rivers. Most river keepers work with Trout Unlimited, or like companies work with Trout Unlimited. There's usually a Trout Unlimited sect in like every area, but they're like very in tune with like the science part of the river.
Right.
And
are they funded? Is that why they have a big
I think
name?
they're funded.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They got to be funded.
Yeah,
they're cool.
Yeah.
I actually,
you and I are cool, but we have no money. We're a lot cooler if we have a bunch of money.
Yeah, speaking of again, they have this big event called CX3. And last summer, before I really started like posting more serious videos, to where it was like actually like posting other people's stories, and like rather than just fishing footage, there was this event called CX3, and I was staying at my old apartment, and this dude came down the elevator with the Trout Unlimited jacket on, and I was like, do you work for them? And he said yes. And I was like, why are you in town? And he said that there was a big event, so I walked over there into the pavilion and kind of just like walked in. Just kind of like, I'm doing air quotes right now, snuck in. And I just was like, I really want to meet someone that works for Trout Unlimited.
And then you worked your way over to the to the chicken sandwiches.
They did kick me out before dinner, but they gave me some good inspiration, and like said, Spokane is definitely growing in the fishing section, as well as like just being on the river. Because
it's super unique. There's not a whole lot of large cities that are along the river, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful here.
Yeah, like kayaking. It used to be really toxic to swim in the river, and then within the past 20 years, apparently it's not. I don't know.
Or no one's reporting on it.
There's that too.
Because our numbers are going up, our property value is going up. And we're back. Okay, so this is Creative Mindset with Robert Sevilla, and in studio we have Ross Lindsay, right?
Hello. Yes. Yeah. Correct.
And you are a local, we'll call you, are you an influencer or a local
I guess
social media guy, or local fun guy?
Local fun guy, influenced by the area.
Angler, but your specialty is, at least online, is fly fishing, or just fishing in general?
Just fishing in general. Fly fishing gets expensive.
How does that get expensive? I heard it's kind of the rich man's fishing.
It's so expensive.
What's expensive about it?
So like it's
how much are the poles?
Oh man, like $2,000.
The poles are $2,000?
I don't know. If you go to like
the real wiggly, sticky ones. Yeah, the flimsier they are, the more expensive they are.
That's for like the really nice ones. Mine was like $100, but like it's definitely been repaired a few times.
What about the reels?
That's for a reel with the other one, but like to get a good reel, it's probably like $300, $200 to $300.
Why would they have that glowing line? I've seen some of them. It doesn't look like monofilament anymore. It looks like a threaded line.
Yeah, so there's a backing, they call it, which is like a braided line deep in the reel, and then there's a floating line, which is that really neon stuff usually.
Yeah. Oh, that's why, because it floats.
Yeah. And then there's like a tiny thin line on the very tip of it.
So it doesn't get stuck in a rock or something? Is that why you want it to float?
You want it to float so that the actual fly floats along the top of the water, or you can have it to where it sinks, but usually you just have it float
stuck somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah, so you don't get it stuck somewhere. You can put it exactly where you want it.
Mm-hmm. So I guess all the gear, like the if you want to stand in the river,
that's expensive.
The boots and the boots, keeping warm, and so it's probably like golf clubs and people cycling that stuff out. And
that is if you're going for name brand. I mean, you can order off Temu and save like quite a bit of bucks, but the quality is not going to be as good in some senses. But it'll get the job done. I mean, anything to get out there on the river. That's what I always tell people.
Do they have fly fishing contests?
Oh, I'm not super familiar with them, but I'm sure that they do.
Or like competitions. I know my father, he did some like river fishing and lake fishing, but he was mostly a deep sea fisherman.
Oh, that's cool.
And I heard him like maybe in the last like 5 years saying, he was talking to my son and he's like, yeah, your father never really liked fishing. He just went to hang out with me. And I'm like, well, you're right. I was the kid that was like, they'd pull a fish in, they'd throw it in the boat, and I'd be splashing water on the fish because I was trying to keep it alive. and they just see them look like they were trying to breathe, like the water in. I'd feel so bad for the fish, although I'd love to eat them, but I just didn't like seeing them die slowly in the sun.
Yeah. I do catch and release, if that helps.
It makes sense when you're in like a river or some, like a lake. You can only get so many of those things, right?
Yeah, very true. Yeah, and some water is polluted. And I don't know, you get mercury in the fish.
Oh, is that what the fish usually get?
The fish seem to hold mercury pretty well, but crawdads hold mercury well too. Mm-hmm. And they do testing on crawdads instead of the protected fish. Mm-hmm. And that's how they like gauge it in some senses. So like they'll test crawdads for mercury levels. But yeah, I don't know exactly how that works, but it's kind of cool. I like science. Yeah.
I heard, here's a side note, just kind of a fun story. I went down to Nicaragua to look at this eco-friendly resort that I was going to do lighting for. So I told you I was a metal artist. Mm-hmm. And my favorite thing to do is lighting. They like this like organic pendant. And they said, hey, would you make 2 lights for every cabana? And I'm like, well, I'll have to see your cabanas to really get a true feeling for it. And they're like, sure, come on down. So I go down. It's this beautiful place. I meet all of these like investors in the in the resort and stuff. And this one lady's talking to me, and it was eco-friendly, and it was all into kind of energetics, and it was ahead of its time. Like right now, there's a lot of you can go to sound baths and all of these like energetic Reikis, very popular, but this was probably like 15, 17 years ago. And I go down there and I'm talking to this lady, and she's asking me about how kind of energy person I am. And I'm like, I don't really know. And I'm like, I'm an energy caveman. I just kind of feel it out and grunt. And I'm just kind of playing with her. And I go, what do you do? She says, I'm an energy shifter. And I go, energy shifter? She goes, I just shift energy if it's being clogged or you're not getting further. And I go, how do you apply that? And she goes, my specialty is I live in Panama City, and I help people. She goes, I helped this resort. I became a partner by helping them move through all of the bureaucratic red tape to get this place established. And she goes, and they couldn't do it until I stepped in, and then everything moved forward. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. You come in with nothing but your influence, and which is all it is, right? Or knowing the right people, however you say it. I think most probably high-level business people are energetic in some way. But the story that goes back to the crawdads is that I was just asking about, I'm like, well, tell me about where you live. And she goes, man, I got this beautiful place. It's right on the ocean in Panama City. And Panama City is like, there's no poverty there because there's tons of money because of the canal. The canal's coming through. They take care of everybody. Like the whole town is just doing well. And she goes, I got a place that's right on the river. Or on the ocean. I come home at night. And I put my fins on, my mask, jump in the water, and I would swim out, and I'd grab my dinner, and it would be a big old lobster.
Oh, wow.
And I go, that's what you do every night? And she goes, yeah, until she goes, I got really sick and found out that I was consuming too much mercury. And she goes, now I can't have fish. I can have fish like maybe once a month.
Interesting. That's what they recommend for the Spokane River.
Fish like once a month?
It's once or twice. They have a sign that says it, but it's like once or twice a month. I just saw it when I was little, and now I skim by it because I'm like, I just know it kind of says don't eat them.
Yeah. I heard that you're supposed to like take note where you pick them up, and then there's more mercury or more. I just heard it as poison at the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyway, the funny thing was, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, just when you think you've moved into
that's like paradise.
Paradise, yeah, and then you end up getting poisoned by your own paradise, right?
Probably tasted good though.
Oh my god, that'd be a way to go, right? But I heard mercury poison's an ugly way to die.
Oh,
yeah.
They used to do that in photography. That's what my dad did. He was a camera repair tech. He didn't make it. Wasn't from mercury.
Yeah.
But he always talked about how like they used to use mercury to develop pictures, and they would just boil it.
Oh.
And like then that stuff would get thrown into rivers and stuff. Trash used to be, and then it stayed in the river. He didn't do that.
Oh.
When they used to use the river as like a dump in a lot of cities.
Right.
And that probably translated to other industries. Like electricians had mercury switches where when you flipped the switch on the wall, there was an actual bubble of mercury that would shift in a little glass ampule to connect two wires, and then that would make the connection. And like when those were put into a dump, there was so much mercury in them that they just break when you put them in the ground, and it all makes its way back to water. That was a lot of info. Sorry.
Yeah, you really brought this down. You really brought our show down.
Love some mercury combo.
No, it's fine. Actually, I like hearing the stuff that no one wants to talk about. Like here, like for example, I haven't heard about it. Just like before, like you don't hear about things after the economy starts to pick up. But there was a big. I heard from a lot of people that this was the biggest like epicenter for MS in the country.
Oh, was that
sclerosis?
Okay,
and they didn't know why, or they didn't want to know why. But it had to. What is something everybody consumes?
Yeah,
water. Here.
Water, air. There was a huge conversation that happened at this water rights thing that I went to. It was just one of those like anyone can go, and they apparently meet quite a bit. But they said like Hangman Creek, which flows into the Spokane River, they used to use a lot of firefighting foam. And there's like these forever chemicals they called them.
Oh wait, is that the one over in the Air Force Base?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah, I heard about that too. They used to do all their drills, even though they didn't have to. They were just dumping all that fire retardant.
Yeah, fire retardant. Yeah. And they apparently still find this stuff in there.
Well, I was thinking about the aluminum plant, the KYRS.
Yeah.
Because they have to be near a river in order to. All aluminum factories have to be near a river in order to cool it down. That's their source of cooling. But I don't know how it would. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I just heard through that it cycles the water through.
They brought up a little bit at this one thing that there was like this new method of removing PFAS, which are like polyfluoral something carbon atom forever chemicals.
Yeah.
They like you can't filter them out unless it's through like dirt that's specifically for it.
Right.
And then you have to like remove the whole thing of dirt. It's not just like concentrate them down. But they brought up how some of these places are using like laser filtration to like actually break the molecules up so they can be broken down. I don't know if they do any of that. I'm assuming they.
Is it laser or sound?
I think it's laser or light treatment or something.
Huh. There's new
sound would work though.
Just for the sake of bouncing around.
Yeah.
I read about this Sonic. They're treating cancer in like
I love that stuff. Oh my goodness.
I think in mice using sonic waves, like they sonically, you know how they can defy gravity with sonic? They can float
styrofoam
like
waters
and things like that. They just focus those sonic waves, and they actually target and kill cancer cells.
That is really cool.
Right?
We got to find a way to like make a sonic wave fishing rod so we can pick fish up out of the river. And
then just like to bring them to your hand like a drone, like a well, just pick up the bad fish. I guess also the fun with that.
It's so scary for a fish.
I know. It'd be just like what the alien abductions described, minus the probe.
Respectfully,
although it's not over yet. Okay, so we got to do one more break, and we're back talking about my one day of training. I'm kind of like just do things, and so I came in and I trained one day under the Americana show. James, I forget the whole something Americana, but he plays just basically whatever he wants to. I mean, Americana is
music,
anything,
okay.
Music. And I remember bringing my notebook in to write down notes, and as I'm walking in, they're like, "Well, you're gonna have to train." I'm like, "Awesome!" So, I was just thinking of this mixer that I'm in front of right now. I thought that's what I would be mixing, and that's what I just kind of thought of, and then just dismissed and just went on about my week or day or whatever it was. And I start walking in the building, and I start critically thinking, like, what is training going to be like? And I have my notes and my pen ready, and I realized, wait, if I was training someone, I'd just put them on the air.
Trial and error.
I'm like, they're going to put me on the air. Like, I'm going to have to talk. And I've never been on the radio before. So he turned and he's like, "Hey, I've got this guy here. He's going to start a new program, Creative Mindset. Robert, what do you got to say about it?" I completely froze, man. I just, and then I think I saw it in his eye going, "Oh, this dude just locked up." And then he just started talking for me. And I was just kind of like, yes, for these real short answers. But I was able to break all of that one day when it's only happened once. My guest didn't show up, and I was still here, and I could have just pressed the automation button, which plays something. There's always like some music just in case something happened. There's always music that's playing in the background, like for example.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's always there. It's like my little pillow, my safety net. And I'm like, well, I could go to the automation. And I'm like, or I can just punch through this fear. And so I'm like, well, what do I know? Like, what do I need to know? And I'm like, well, I'm just going to talk. And so I just started talking, and I was probably like 45 minutes into it. And I remember we had a window. It was over at the other studio. And I was looking out the window, and I'm just talking, blah, 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 blah. And I realized, what am I talking about? Like, I just forgot I was on the air. I was just like narrating, like whatever. I don't even remember. I think I even called my friend. And we talked on the air, but oh man, yeah, I realized, I'm like, I think I'm over it.
I've been trying to forget that we're on the air this whole time.
Yeah.
And like, I'd say 5 minutes in, the nervousness.
Well, the only thing
the
only thing you're not supposed to do is cuss. So and like promote hate or something.
Oh yeah, no.
Which is pretty easy to not do.
Yeah.
Easy for me.
Same.
Okay, so let's make sure that people know how to follow you. So go ahead and give out those things again.
So yeah, it's called Fishing Bloopers. It's on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. If you just Google it, it'll pop up. There's a website. I post 2 times a day and kind of voiceover videos, and comedy videos and some serious ones sprinkled in.
Did you go to school for communications, any video production?
No, that's all just been winging it. I actually didn't go to college, or I started to, but I'm 24 right now. And in 2017, Pops passed, and then I took over his camera business called Alpine Camera out in Spokane Valley.
What kind of camera? Like selling cameras, renting cameras?
Film camera repair.
Oh.
And digital, but then I converted it into film camera repair.
And you're still doing that now?
No, I did that up until 2020, and then made the jump into making jewelry. Mm-hmm. So like bridal jewelry and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
But
that's
yeah.
a good, sweet spot.
Yeah, and then the fishing industry kind of just like mixes so well with both of those. And I was bored in the evenings.
With jewelry?
Yeah, oddly enough.
Tell me about that.
Like we get some people sometimes where it's like, and I'm not trying to plug the jewelry thing at all here. That's just what I'm doing. But we'll get people that want like some weird stuff, like respectfully weird. Like it's kind of cool, but like they want like either a bone from something like an animal bone put into a ring, or like you get people that want fish rings made. But then also like watches, especially with the fly fishing community. There's a lot of like that crossover between like fine timepieces and like fine fishing gear. That's like really nice fishing gear. Like, if you're at the river, you'll usually see like a nice watch on somebody, like with a big fly fishing crowd or something. It's just interesting.
They'll ask for engravings on like nice watches.
That too,
things?
Yeah. You get people that want fish engravings, which I do fish engravings. So like, yeah, before I did the videos, I was really focusing in on honing like engraving skills and like engraving animals and wildlife and doing art and stuff. But the fishing videos seem to be like a now thing. Like there's a momentum there. And
gosh, I'll have to pitch you some ideas after the show.
That'd be so cool.
I've done a couple fishing themes. So basically my metalwork is like a functional artwork. So I have to target things that make money, right? That people want to. A hard sell is to sell something artistic that does nothing more than just sit on a wall or sit on a pedestal. So if you can make something artistic that someone needs anyway, like railing, lighting,
big things,
furniture, things like that, then that's the way I've been able to make a living. But every once in a while, some people will just ask for like the strange stuff, weird stuff.
The
like
oddities.
this one guy, a family, they had like a family cabin, and they all pitched in money and gave me a budget and said they wanted some sort of fish theme. And I'm like, gosh, I've never really made anything with fish. And I go, well, where's it going? And they go, over the fireplace. And I thought it was like on a mantle or something like that. But they wanted it sitting like on top or over like a pellet stove that heated like this large, probably 4,500 square foot cabin.
Wow, that's a big cabin.
Yeah. And I'm like, you just wanted me to sit on here and cook? I'm like,
was it like a heating element?
Yeah, I'm like, you just want like this huge thermal sink, like I'm like a thermal mass.
Don't touch the fish; it's hot.
Yeah. People are gonna want to touch it, and so I made up something else where they had like river rock all along the wall, and then I pulled out some of the river. Actually, I went to like just like the Nicaragua place. I went over to their cabin, and then I pulled out rocks out of the water, and then I cleaned them off, and then I drilled into them, and I made this like 3-dimensional. Like a diorama, like a little set where the rocks from the wall came off the wall, and then there were these fishes, and then I put some of the, even though it's probably not what they wanted, but what are they, in the ocean they call it like seaweed, but like a otter grass or something.
I don't want to say algae. It's not algae. I think it is seaweed. Is it seaweed?
Well, yeah, but not in a lake.
Oh yeah, that's true. Milfoil.
Milfoil, but that's something they don't want, right?
Yeah,
I
always call it weeds.
I needed something that looked like that the fish can kind of move around and something I can sink my teeth in as a sculptor. And so I made this one fish kind of coming up around some water grass, and then up above I made a fly fish, fly fishing hook, and then I made these like concentric rings as you like draw the fly across. So I made this like trail, and it was just floating. It's pretty cool. I'll have to show you. That's the only one I did like that, but it'd be fun to do another one. It was a struggle for me to get into it at first because it wasn't quite my world. But like I said in the beginning, it's nice to do things that are far out of my way of thinking. Variety of life, right? Spice of life.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything you want to cover? We only have like 4 more minutes left. What should we definitely touch on, or what should we know about you? We talked about how you, or how did you get started?
Yeah, just with the fishing stuff.
I guess maybe what made you think when I met you, you're like, I'm going to do it.
Oh,
I'm going to be I'm going to have followers. I'm going to create followers, and then actually doing it. I mean, I think 24,000 people in what I met you 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's had 40 million views.
Yeah, that's significant.
It's mind blowing every single day, but like basically set a goal. I had really good teachers growing up, like a lot of struggle at home in some senses, and that kind of was hard. And so like good teachers, viewed everybody as a teacher, and then just like some of the confidence they instilled in me motivated, especially through that time of like wanting to try it. I always wanted that. I always wanted like to share in some ways online. And before that, it was music. But then I was like, people seem to like fishing. I like fishing. Now I have a job, and I can do this in the evenings. And then,
do you think it's important to make videos about something that you're genuinely interested in?
Yes.
Is that the key to it?
Yes. I have tried making other accounts just for fun.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
Oh, just like I tried to make a cooking account, but it was like a parody cooking account. Because I don't really know how to cook. So it was just like, first you want to grab your eggs, and then you want to grab your like, I don't know, biscuits and mix them together and just like emulsify them. And it was so out there. But I just tried it just to see if people would be like, I relate to this. I don't know how to cook. That was my intention. But I think it was so in depth that like it didn't resonate.
Like you made food that you didn't eat?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. It was fails. It was unintentional fails. But like finding something that you're super passionate about and making videos on it, or audio or anything like that, and like connecting with people. It's even more than just like making videos. Like replying to people, replying to comments.
Is that your favorite part?
Oh yeah, every single day. There's usually other comments that pop up, like people have been like, I went and bought a fishing pole because of this, and like my little heart's just like, I would never have thought in a million years that would ever have been something that I would inspire someone to do.
That is cool.
It's
because that's a life changer right there.
Yeah, it really is.
One of my father's favorite moments he was telling me with my boys was when we went out and fished in the Spokane River, and I got him some poles, got him some little lures or whatever you call them, and I'm like, Dad, just take him out. And he took him out. We threw the lines in and pulled him out. And I mean, he didn't tell me that was one of his fondest memories with my boys. And he goes, we weren't catching anything at that time of the day. And he goes, but it was just fun to go out there with the boys. Yeah. And I mean, he knew that I just went with him when I was younger, even older, up to like probably in my 20s. He would take me on fishing trips, and I'd go. But he was right. I just wanted to be with him.
Yeah, it's special.
I mean, I'd never been fishing without him.
And now there's a lot of groups in town. This is like, in addition to that, to make those family memories that like include everybody. We were talking before about like some other inclusive groups.
Yeah.
But
And it's more the culture up here. I mean, we live on the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Well, strangely enough, this hour is over.
That was a whole hour?
Yeah.
Serious?
That was an hour, yeah.
Man. Wow.
It flies by when you're having fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so people can find you, follow some of your stories, maybe ask you even more questions, and you seem to enjoy that, at Fishing Bloopers.
Yep.
And you can find that on Instagram. Just Google it, and it'll probably point you to all kinds of your stuff.
I'll be there if you need someone to talk to even. I mean, that's why I'm doing it too.
Cool. Awesome.
Making sure.
I'm going to take one picture, and then I'll post what this guy looks like later. So in case you guys want to see him.
I look kind of odd.
Don't let them scare you away. Okay, so that's it, man. Thanks so much, Ross.
Appreciate the opportunity.